What is three-phase power and why do you need it for commercial freeze drying anyway? That's the topic of today's video. If you're just joining me, I'm Gene from Suntour. Let's dive right in. So most of you are probably familiar with single phase power. This is what you get in your house. Usually 115 volts, but it could be 230 volts. The defining characteristic of single phase power is that you have a single sine wave curve and the energy is transferred from the hot wire to ground, or from hot wire to neutral, which is usually attached to ground one way or another. So again, the defining characteristic is single hot wire to your motor, and then the energy is transferred to ground. Three-phase power, on the other hand, has three hot wires that go to your motor, and each of those hot wires has a phase, and those phases are separated by a certain distance. They're out of phase, if you will. So when one is at high voltage, another one's at some lower voltage, and it transfers the energy from one wire into the other wire. And this happens between all three wires, and it creates a special rotating magnetic field, which is what drives your motors. Now, I'm not going to go into any more detail about what three-phase power is, but I highly encourage you to go and search for some three-phase power education on YouTube, online. There's some online courses. You can read about it in a book. Frankly, there's probably lots and lots of videos on YouTube that you can just leverage. The reason I highly encourage it is because that is what is used in all of industry. Anytime you get a motor that's larger than, let's say, 5 horsepower, you're going to start getting into the realm where every motor is going to require three-phase power in order to operate. Why would you have a requirement to go to three-phase? It's much more efficient. It has better starting torque, and it's actually the starting torque that matters probably more than the efficiency. You see, when you first start a motor, you have this huge inrush in current. And if you have a single phase motor with a really poor starting torque, it's going to draw a much larger amount of inrush current. And this is going to wreak havoc on your facilities, on your power grids. So three-phase power it only takes 1/3 of the energy to get the same amount of starting torque, because it's only got 1/3 of the distance between the different magnetic poles in your motor. So that is why industry uses three-phase power for all large motors. And here's a news flash: as soon as you start moving into commercial grade freeze drying, all those motors are probably going to be 5 horses or higher. These are the motors on your vacuum pumps, the motors on your refrigeration systems, possibly the motors on your packaging systems, your compressors, your air compressors, and maybe your dishwashing and cleaning equipment. These could all be three-phase power. They likely very well will be. Now, the one thing about three-phase power that actually makes it even more useful, if you will, once you have it in your facility, is that you can simply tap a single one of those hot wires, and run it to ground, and now you've got baked in single-phase power. So you always have both if you've got three-phase power, but you don't have three-phase power if your building is only spec'd out with single-phase power. Now that leads me to the next part of my discussion, which is, here's my first piece of advice. If you're shopping for a building to do an expansion, make sure it has three-phase power, or at least try to get one that has three-phase power. You can have it added by the power company. They will happily come out and dig all the trenches, install all the conduits and wires, and they'll happily charge you tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. So it'll be a lot less expensive for you to find a building that already has the power. The thing you're also going to have to find out when you're looking at buildings is, well, how much power do I have? And this is usually measured in full load amps, or the number of amps service that are available there. So ask what it is when you are looking at buildings, because it's going to matter. Look, commercial freeze dryers are power hungry systems. They're going to draw a lot of current. How much current? I could bore you by going through the different classes of sizes of machines and giving you current capacity for each one of those machines, but I guarantee you would click out. You would probably that would be where you'd finish. In fact, I know, because I tried making a video like that, and it was too painful Too painful for me to even watch myself. So, but hey, just reach out to me. I can put this information together for you in a small matrix. Better yet, ask the OEM that you're interested in getting the machine from. They have to have the current load capacity requirements for every machine you buy. Now, is the freeze dryer the only thing you're going to need for your commercial freeze drying operation? No, absolutely not. You're definitely going to need a walk-in freezer. That's very likely going to be also on three-phase power. You're going to need, some kind of ability to wash all of your trays. So some kind of industrial dishwasher. You will need probably an air compressor. You'll need a number of things, right? So make sure that you add all those current carrying machines or those current requiring machines up so that, and give yourself a factor of safety so that when you have a building in mind or when you are talking to the electric utility, that you actually are speccing not just what you need for right now, but maybe also for your growth. Okay, I hope you got value out of this video. This has been another short one. If you did, please hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you like, and even better yet, leave comment below that just says, hey, I'd also like to hear about this aspect of the freeze drying industry. And I've got a pretty wide base of knowledge that I can draw on. And if I don't, I can get a guest on that also might be expert in that, something like that. Okay, so again, this is Gene from Suntour, and happy freeze drying.